Welcome back to the Dom Your Demons podcast. My name is Midas MSL. I'm the host of Dom Your Demons and the creator of the framework that helps you take your demons and turn them into your divine accomplice. I'm not talking about a disincarnate, freaky being that they talk about on Tucker Carlson. I'm talking about your shadow, and I'm talking about my shadow. And I look at the shadow through a lens of esoteric study and practice, and also valuing my own lived experience because oh man, guess what? I actually do value my own lived experience enough to talk about it in front of the whole world. And this month, I have experienced something that I think a lot of people can relate to, which is the loss of a very important loved one in my life. And for me, it got me to understand this process of doming your demons better because it brought up my shadow in a deeper way than you can access in a normal day-to-day life. Like, there's something about a deep crisis or a deep loss of somebody that brings up the truth vividly. But I would say specifically like death, when you come face to face with losing somebody, all of this truth comes to the surface in ways that you can't have the perspective or process until like the truth slaps you in the face. I went to go see my mom, and there was a feeling in my bones. I was like, this really might be the last time you ever see her. I've never had an experience like that. I've never had to look someone in the eye and then feel the heartbreak of being like, I might not ever see you again. That is such a surreal and heartbreaking experience. And I'm lucky that I got to have it. I was sitting down with her and talking with her in hopes of making my peace. Years ago, I had forgiven my mom for anything that she had done in my upbringing to cause me a lot of shadows, which is the reason why I made this podcast, not because of my mom, but just because life gave me a lot of knots to untie. And my relationship to my mom was a part of that. And she was such a loving, almost angelic being. I'd say her biggest fault was sometimes being too connected to the light, that she wasn't looking at the darkness around her and being able to discern what she needed to have better judgment about. And so that created a sort of naivety that I do my best to learn from and to have a very profound discernment about my surroundings and my life and my relationships. And I think it served me well. But seeing my mom for the last time in no way was about forgiving her. It was about forgiving myself, because I didn't know this moment was going to come so quickly. I didn't anticipate that I was going to have this experience so soon. And the idea that me in my conquest for living up to the standard I have for myself and having enough money to go visit my mom and having enough money to like live this successful life, like all of my shadow as I was making my peace with her came up to the surface, and it was like, all of my undeserving, all of my unworthiness, all of the things that told me like, you're not where you want to be in life. It was like this defeated old ideas of unworthiness came rushing up into my body because I was like, fuck, I haven't been able to afford to fly out and visit my mom as much as I would like. And so I apologized to her for that, and she hugged me, and I had such a beautiful potential farewell with her. You know, something about my mom is that when I was a kid and I would go leave for the bus in the morning, and I can so vividly see it in my head, she would always say every day, I love you and so does God. And I'm so lucky to have had a mom who every day when I left for school, she said, I love you, so does God. So I made sure that the last words I ever said to her were, Mom, I love you and so does God. And she looked at me and she said, he's here right now. And I took it with a grain of salt because I'm like, well, God's actually like pretty non-binary, Mom. I don't know if you know that, but I believe that divinity was with me. For some reason, this deep grief brought up all of my shadows of self-perception, and it made me realize just how much harsh criticism I was holding with me for all of these years, and just how deeply lodged it was in my body. You see, I tend to hold this super high standard for myself that, like, I'm not successful until I'm hitting it big on a national level. Now, I don't necessarily think that's a wrong thing to do. I think that that's actually like my destiny, is to have an impact on an international or at least national scale. And that is what I aspire to in my work. So if I'm never hitting that, I'm judging myself against that. Now, you see, the funny thing is that in my flop era, I have managed to garner 1,300,000 listens on the Quinn app, actually, as an erotic voice, as the only non-binary erotic voice. So my flop era has served me well. I've been able to pay my bills. It's just that it hasn't put me in a comfortable enough place to be satisfied with life, and also with, like, the extent of I know how far I can go with my impact. But there's no way that somebody can thrive or succeed when they're living with a somatic block inside them that's like, you're fucking failing. You're fucking failing. Look at what you're doing. Look at what you're doing. Like, this voice lives inside of me with a somatic energy attached to it that is so cruel. And it makes me feel like an outsider when I'm not succeeding. So when I am succeeding, I'm doing great. When I am thriving, like, it's like everything is as it should be. And when I'm not, I am the meanest person to myself ever. And I think that came originally from a lack of encouragement substituted by intense discouragement by people in my formative years. So for me to perpetuate that somatic voice is such a disservice to what I came on this earth to do. And I would not be appropriately doming my demons if I continued to berate myself or to only enjoy it the moment I started getting successful. I don't fucking agree that that is the way to get yourself to where you want to be. And I still believe that I'm going to be successful, but I can't do it anymore and hurting myself on the journey to get there. Now, mind you, I'm able to say this to you because I knew that as these voices were coming up, as these somatic blocks, like these somatic pits of anger in my heart towards myself were coming up, I knew that that wasn't like how I truly felt, but I knew that these things were energetically alive in me. And so because they were, I needed to meet them with fiercely compassionate, transformative love regardless. And the only way that you can truly transform these things is, one, you have to be in a mental place where you know you have the ability to sit with it and meet it with as much light as it is dark. And I am in a place right now, because I've been doing so much cultivation of turning my shadow into my divine accomplice, that I was able to go into some of the more end boss levels of my shadow. Because losing your mother, like losing the only person who might truly love you in this world, slaps you with the truth. And the truth is not necessarily like the ultimate truth, but it's like, these are things that are on your plate that you need to look at. I was able to meet these blocks with so much light and compassion, and it hurt to feel them. But I had already created a system for transforming the shadow, and so I just applied what I had already made to this moment. And now I'm standing in this threshold where I'm like, I felt that depth of my darkness once and for all. And I know that once you hit the bottom of the pool, you start to come back up and relief starts to meet you. And I've felt this like levity that's not this like bubbly soda pop sort of like, I'm so giggly and like, but it's more this grounded, like, I don't think this is going to follow me around anymore like it used to. And the reason I know it's not going to follow me around is because it still exists. It's just flipped into its divine inversion, which is basically the sentence, I want us to succeed and we will. Like, and we will. Because whenever that shadow came up, it felt like something from the past. It didn't feel like something current and modern. It just felt like this old, dark wound that I had to keep dragging along with me, or it was dragging me. So when I was finally able to come in, feel it once and for all, just like give it a one good, deep feel, and then release it, what I heard from my shadow was this feeling of like, I don't have to bother you with this anymore because I know you've got it. And I actually trust you enough as a soul to transform and shift with you. And so now what used to be like, you're fucking failing, you're not rich enough right now, you're not successful enough right now, and like all the ways I let people reinforce that idea in me, now it just feels like, I'm so ready to give you the opportunity to shine and thrive. Like, I took this demon thesis statement of you're worthless and I turned it into I'm excited to see what we become. And like, damn, guys, I created a system that allowed me to do that. It was like I was preparing myself for this month. So I see my mom, and there's so much heaviness that I don't even have the ability to integrate it. And I go to New York because I knew that after seeing her, I was going to need like a treat for myself. And there's something about New York that I just love so much. I feel like I kind of belong there. My plan is to get rich and move there. I really want to do that. And I was so supported by people. I never got a second to breathe, but I was being so held and cared for by real friends, which is such a relief after years and years of feeling like I was in some kind of social isolation. Like, I have people around me now that care about me. It was amazing. I made music. I played drums. I went out to nice Italian dinners. We went to gay bars. Like, we went to a Mets game. It was so fun. And by the time I got home, I was like, this weight is sitting on me. It's so heavy. And I needed a moment to feel it and integrate it. And I think that, like, feeling your feelings is scary for this reason. And I'm going to break it down for anyone who doesn't know why feelings are scary. It's because there's a somatic attachment to them, and it actually is physically painful to feel them. Especially if you think that that darkness is true. Then you're like, this pain I'm feeling has to stay with me forever. But if you can just meet it and feel it one solid good time the whole entire way through, something happens where it doesn't have to keep bothering you anymore. So what you thought was, oh, well, I don't want to be a victim and I don't want to like feel sorry for myself, actually would be more helpful for you to view it and through the lens of, each time I truly give this sensation a dignified moment of presence and the ability to experience it, it will transform. And it will relieve itself every single time that I return back to it, as long as I am not doing it from a place of victimhood, reactivity, and suffering. If I do it through the lens of, I wish for this to transform, but I'm willing to sit through it for as long as it takes, it will not stay the same. You're not going to stay in the same amount of suffering when you look at it through that lens. And that is like my promise to you. So most people that are afraid of feeling their feelings are just actually afraid of the somatic sensation attached to a belief statement that does not have to stay like that. Because what I call your demon thesis statement, which is this collection of negative beliefs that we hold in our body, those demon thesis statements are attached to a somatic sensation. And if you can go into the depth of that somatic sensation, what you're going to find is you can offer it up to the divine and ask your subconscious mind, hey, I want you to transform this and move it along its timeline until it seeks its positive end. So here's your demon thesis statement. You go through the feeling of catharsis, actually experiencing what this thing feels like. And what you'll find is each negative belief contains its own divine inversion. And that divine inversion is your divine accomplice. And in the same way that a block of ice can be hard and cold and then melted, turned into water, and eventually evaporated into gas, so too can your shadow be met with compassion and cathartically experienced until it transforms into something that looks completely different, but is actually, in fact, The same exact molecule, just transformed. And that is what I am suggesting from an esoteric perspective you can do with your shadow. And in a very real way, it requires you to be grounded, touching grass, being fully present with it, and knowing that it does not have to stay the same, in the same way that ice can become vapor. And the way I got to this conclusion was actually utilizing the Hermetic laws, namely the Hermetic law of polarity, which means that if you take something along a timeline, everything has its equal and opposite polarity. So for everything that is hot, there exists a cold. We live in a binary world, and you can actually use that to your advantage. And isn't that fucking dope? Yes, it is. The answer is ding, ding, ding. Yes, it's amazing. So what has happened for me in this month? I have had to meet grief head on, and I'm such an opportunist that I refuse to not use it to my benefit. Like, I refuse to not take a difficult moment and alchemize it. And honestly, guys, that's why I chose the name Midas for myself. I didn't choose the name Midas to be like, everything I touch turns to gold, bitch. Even though it fucking does, but it does because I apply the process of alchemy to my life. And that was the intention behind the name, was every tough thing in my life that I touch is going to become fucking gold. And I knew that before I started this process of Dom Your Demons, that like my name was going to be about alchemy. And alchemy is just transformation. It's taking the shadow and it's turning it into light because it exists on the same polarity, just like ice becomes gas. Gang, gang. And you know what? I think my mom would be proud of me for hearing all of this. And you know what? I'm proud of me. And I refuse to take the voices that created my shadows and emulate them. Because there was a void of encouragement in my life and a void of reflecting back my identity to me, it allowed room for discouragement to become a strong hold in my psyche. And if I continue that pattern, I have learned nothing. You feel me? So when I was 25, I asked God for true confidence, and I think I'm starting to actually learn what it is. And now the next time that I go back into like a cute streak and like a winning cutie streak, it will never be able to be taken away from me just because I'm not winning, because I know who I am. And the person who's about to win this next time is a holistic ass motherfucker. So this is all I have to say to you. If you would like to do a Dom Your Demons session with me, I have sessions available currently on my website, and I would love to sit with you and show you the system that I've used to move through these things and share them with you in a way that you can apply. And it doesn't matter what phase of life you're in. You don't have to be in crisis. I say that Dom Your Demons has 4 different seasons of life. There's the C, and the C is when you're going through deep crisis. You're in grief, you're in a toxic relationship, you're in substance abuse, you are in extreme poverty, and the only thing you need to do when you're in the sea is get out of the sea and onto the shore, and that's the second phase. And on the shore, the only thing you need to be doing is stabilizing your mind and your body and taking care of your physical self, because you are not a floating head in space. You cannot do this by just thinky, menti, breaking out of your menti thinky. You are a physical being, and your physical being is a divine engine, and so you need to be maintaining that. Once you're on the shore, then once you have mental stability, you can be walking into the cave and looking at those shadows from a place of observation, neutrality, and the willingness to feel the feelings fully and release them. And the 4th phase of Dom Your Demons is the vessel, where you get back into the world, you get on the boat onto the sea that you thought was going to kill you, but this time you have a structure and purpose and confidence, and that allows you to get back into the world more easily. So my work is to help people move through these seasons of their life, no matter which one it is. And I can do it in my own esoteric little spicy way that I truly believe will help the people who it resonates with. So if you're curious about that, I'm taking sessions right now. It's on my website. I also give intuitive readings. I've been giving intuitive readings for the last 10 years, but in the last 2 years, something is super deeply developed within myself where I feel like my offering has accelerated and I'm able to give people encouragement and like a willingness to move forward and back to their own center of gravity. So I help people turn towards their North Star and move forward in their lives. If you're interested in any of that, I'll see you on the website. And I hope you all stay freaky. Please take care of yourselves. Know that your shadow is just a bratty little sub that wants your loving authority and compassionate attention, and it's not as bad as you think. So get out of the sea and onto the shore of your life, and I will see you in the next one. All right, stay freaky.